Hello, friends. Welcome back to the School of Self-Worth. I'm your host, Nicole Song. It feels so appropriate and aligned to talk to you about this episode's topic of surrender and rest because I'm recording this while I'm pregnant, and an episode will be airing while I am on maternity leave. And surrender and rest is a topic that I am so acutely aware is missing for Asian American women, especially you high achievers. So it felt like really perfect timing to come in and talk about this critical topic. So, before we get going, if you are an Asian American corporate leader who is ready to reverse cultural conditioning so that you can thrive in your dream career in 60 days, DM me reverse on Instagram at Nicole Song. I've got something over there for you. Okay, friends, let's jump into this really fun and expansive topic. So, I'm recording this episode while I am 35 weeks pregnant, which means I will be 9 months pregnant next week. This is my first pregnancy, so it has been a journey, to say the least, to stay connected to my body and its evolution over the last few months. And as someone who is a high achiever, who is ambitious, who's super active, who's super movement oriented, I am a doer all the time. It's been a really big lesson in tuning in on a deeper level to myself. So I wanted to cover today surrender and rest from two perspectives. And first is physically. And then the second is also about how I'm bringing in surrender and rest into work, which I know will be relevant to so many of you out there. So let's start with the physical. First, I'm going to link in the show notes a story I wrote for the Seattle Times about staying strong in pregnancy and a lot of the different tactical things that I did. So if you're someone who's pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, this is actually just going to be a useful article for you to see about how I approached it and how I thought about it. And for those of you who are new to me around movement, that is my background. I was a yoga teacher for 13 years. I wrote a fitness column for the Seattle Times for 6 years. So movement is really integrated into my life. I entered this pregnancy really strong and physically healthy. This is my usual. This is how I operate every day. Walk 10,000 steps a day. I was Olympic lifting twice a week. I was also doing yoga 2 to 3 times a week and taking a tap class once a week. Like this was just normal for me before I got pregnant. And then up until about 8 months pregnant, I actually did most of that. My steps kind of waxed and waned depending on my energy levels. But I always was getting at minimum like 6 to 8,000 steps, I'd say. And then I was also still lifting, and I only really stopped yoga around 32, 34 weeks when I was just feeling really awkward in class physically. And then my tap classes also ended. So now that I'm at 35 weeks, I'm pretty much down to Olympic weightlifting because I am still lifting and walking. So you're like, okay, Nicole, I thought this was a podcast about surrendering and resting. And that sounds like a whole lot of stuff. So, yes, that's true. And I wanted to share that because a lot of my surrendering was surrendering to what I knew really supported me. And moving my body was one of the most important things for me to feel healthy and strong in this pregnancy. And I, again, can only speak to my own experience. I am not any prenatal or postpartum specialist. I'm only sharing from my own experience. And I will say, I'm in my late 40s and I have had a really healthy pregnancy. I have not had a lot of symptoms. I had some nausea in my first trimester. And every time I felt nauseous, I would still make myself go to yoga or go to my lifting class, and pretty much it would always almost go away after class. When I was really tired, I still had myself go on walks, and it helped my energy come back up every single time. And so I haven't had any weird cravings. I've had just a little bit of insomnia, mostly in the third trimester, but sleeping through the night, which I have heard from many other new moms, like that's not really happening for them, or pregnant women. I haven't had any swelling. I haven't had any blood pressure issues. I've had healthy blood sugar, and I really credit movement for all of that. Like that's why I have felt so good. Now, if I was pregnant again and it wasn't going that way, I mean, that would be a different story, but I will tell you that I feel like movement has been the key. And then one book that I read, they said, if you could put movement into a pill, Pregnant women would take it every single day. Like that's how essential and important it is. So I'm sharing this because it's like, okay, how is that surrender? For me, it's surrendering to what I know was really going to support me. There's a lot of information on the internet about what you should and shouldn't do in pregnancy. Yes, I was very active when I started. And I also knew that there was some movements I'd have to adapt to and adjust to as my belly grew and as I gained weight and as I felt different in my physical body. But I also have rested in other ways. So what I saw is I had to surrender to movement was always going to be a priority. And there were other ways to rest. So I cut out a lot of social activities that felt like too much. I started going to bed earlier. I still have strong boundaries with how much I work. I'm going to get into that in the work section. And I have had to especially surrender. This has been the biggest one to I can't do everything. And while I am pretty good in general at asking for help, during pregnancy, I've had to do it on a totally different level. Like last week, when I'm recording this, we had 5 friends. My husband and I had 5 friends at our house. Like they're on the roof, they were painting the nursery, they were organizing baby clothes, they were caulking the bathroom. And for me, asking for help is the truest act of surrender. It's me saying, I can't do it all myself. I don't have to do it all myself. There are people who are out there who want to support us. I can ask for help and I allow them to help me. The people who came over were all people who had said, how can I help? And so my husband, Michael, and I were like, well, okay, like let's actually tell them. And then they did. And it was amazing. It was like so community oriented. It was so connected. We just had so much fun. And I haven't felt guilty on any level or like I was asking too much. And that's what often can happen to people when you're asking for help, and especially Asian Americans. Like you might not have grown up asking for help or learned how to get help. You always did things on your own. And we're going to get into that cultural conditioning in a bit. And the way to start to counter this is to start to receive, to actually say yes when somebody offers. Like I had, again, multiple offers from friends, like, how can I help? What do you need? And so then I said, this is what I need. And then they came over and they helped us with it. And what I have learned is that when people are generous and I allow them to help, I also just get to be in the practice of saying, oh, wow, my life is so abundant. Thank you. Thank you for being part of my life. And it's just it's a true contribution. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, now I'm going to feel like I owe them. Now I have this list in my head of people that I owe. Instead, I'm like, nope, I'll get to write them a thank you note and say, thank you so much for being part of my life. Because if they were in the same situation and I was in a place and had capacity to help, I would also do the same thing. So when we are truly able to ask for and receive help, that is an act of surrender. And that is also the act of creation of community and connection. And that is what I find actually is at the heart of so much of what we are all desiring in our lives in general. So that was one of the pieces that made a huge difference for me during this pregnancy. And now for the part that you might be extra curious about is how I'm practicing surrendering and rest when it comes to work. So before I reversed cultural conditioning, there is no way I could do things the way that I'm about to share with you. I would have been someone who gripped really tightly. Would be micromanaging everything. I would be feeling stressed and putting pressure on myself about taking time off. And I might not have allowed myself to take very much time off truly. And then also as an entrepreneur, I could have said, well, I'll be back to work in 4 weeks, not actually taking space and time for me and the baby. And I do know entrepreneurs who have done this. And I learned from my immigrant parents to work hard. Like that has never been a question in my life. I've always known how to work hard. It's how I got good grades. It's how I got into Dartmouth College. It's how I did so many different things in my life. And for many years, my success was very deeply connected to the number of hours that I worked and how hard I worked. And when I worked super hard, like I remember one of my there's a couple of different peak periods for me. One of them was when I lived in Anchorage, Alaska, and I was covering a US Senate race. And man, I was working till 8 like every night working on stories. I was on the road following the candidates around. Like that was really intense. And then I also, when I was a yoga teacher, it was actually quite intense. I was writing my fitness column for the paper. I was teaching 10 yoga classes a week, and I was working 20 hours a week also for a yoga company. I was probably working around 60 hours a week at that time. I know how to work hard. But now I reversed the cultural conditioning and I started to understand that I could work hard in allotted periods of time. And then I could also be in my life in other periods of time so that I could actually start to learn to contain my work to the amount of time that I wanted to work. And then I also allowed myself a lot of space to do the things that I love, to move my body, to spend time with people I love, to enjoy my life. And so now I work 25 hours per week on average, like 5 hours a day is my average. And I'm going down to 0 for maternity leave. And it's really because I reversed that conditioning. I've been running my own business and I can choose how much time I want to take off. So I'm so grateful for that. I get to return at a pace that works for me and the baby. And I promise you, as an entrepreneur, I could easily work 50, 60 hours a week. And again, I have friends who do that. I could work crazy hours and I don't. And the reason I don't is because I have surrendered so much. I have an incredible team that supports me. I have people who are keeping things running behind the scenes. I have incredible coaches who are supporting my clients during maternity leave. And at every turn, really within my business, I looked at the places where I needed help and then I asked for it. So here we are again in that place of surrendering to understanding that I don't actually have to do this all by myself, including in my own business. And I did it not only for maternity leave, but I did it actually also as a way to grow because I have started to learn and really have understood that when I finally got rid of that cultural conditioning that said, do it all yourself, figure it out, don't tell people, don't look weak by asking for help. I feel like that's a big part of Asian conditioning is like, oh, you're going to look so weak if other people have to help you. Instead of recognizing and understanding that asking for help is how you grow. And for me, maternity leave has been such an opportunity to grow, to be like, okay, there's a lot of places in this business that I'm going to really need support. So I'm going to have to ask for it and to get it. And so as I have been getting that help, I've noticed how much I've expanded myself to start to hand things off to other people. And this also helps me to serve the Asian American women I am so passionate about supporting. The more help I receive, the more I can do the big work that I am up to inside of Nicole Song Coaching. And it also gives me the opportunity to model for all of you what it looks like to actually surrender and to rest instead of working my way through maternity leave, because that is possible and that's not the choice I'm making. So while I may be pausing on work, my business does not actually have to pause. The work of supporting incredible, high achieving Asian American women does not have to pause. None of it has to pause because it all can continue with the support of incredible people. And all of this that I'm sharing is because I don't let work be my identity. I don't let work be all of who I am. It does not define me. It is not the reason for my existence. And it used to be that way. Like work is all that mattered. And the reason it was that way is because it was the only way I felt successful. Success to me was equivalent to essentially what role I had in a newsroom, what newspaper I worked for, how well I was known as a yoga teacher. Success to me was deeply tied into the work I was doing. But for me now, success is so different. Success is feeling strong in my body, having a happy marriage, feeling love with my friends and family, doing things that are fun for me, and really being connected into the world. Those things, that's to me success. Like oh, I can really feel successful in my life. And don't get me wrong, like I'm so passionate about what I do, and my work is a crucial part of this equation of joy and success, but it is not the only thing that defines success for me. And that's the big distinction for those of you who are listening, because I want you to start to notice and see where you have let work be that definition of success for yourself. Because really, I would say inside of my business is an exciting time. Like it's a super fun time. I feel like a lot of the things we're putting into place now will continue to exist and will allow us to serve even more Asian American women into the future. So I am just, yeah, I can't wait to see where we go from there. But now let's come back to you because this is really around how to surrender and rest more in your life. And when it comes to surrender, when I'm working with my clients on this, the place to start is usually the place where you're gripping. This is the place where you're holding on so tight. Like I'm thinking about one of my clients who's been looking for a job because she wants to move to be closer to her boyfriend. And when there was a place of gripping, it was really difficult. And, we're doing this, she was doing this in a time where the economy was not really great in her industry. And she's like, I don't know how I'm going to get this job. And I was like, okay, we have to be in this place of surrender. And it was so hard. It was like, oh my gosh, how do I surrender something that I am so attached to, I care so deeply about? And we had to really detach for her the timeline, when it was happening, the location of the job, all of these pieces. Like she could be clear that she knew what she wanted, the kind of job that she wanted, but she couldn't be attached to how it was going to happen or when it was going to happen. And so in her case, when she really surrendered and allowed herself to say, okay, I'm going to work on this, but I'm not going to obsess, I'm going to allow myself some space. That's when she started to get all the interviews for jobs that feel perfect for her. And so noticing when you are gripping and holding on really tightly and are attached, and if you're like, okay, I need to work on attachment, go check out my episode on detachment because that's really the power of detachment is such a good episode to start to learn about surrender. Could you consider releasing your grip on the thing? So if you start to notice that you also have a lot of control and tightness around your job, perfect. Now I want you to go take a lunch break, or I want you to take a 15-minute walk in the afternoon, or I want you to leave so you make it to the class on time that you want to go to at the local fitness studio. Because when we don't give ourselves that space to rest and we're only in that gripping energy, that's when we start to feel like our life is not enough. We start to feel so constrained. And then we are really defining our success according to the thing that we're gripping instead of starting to release and be like, oh, there's like other things that bring me joy and happiness in my life. And you could even today stop at some point and just take 10 minutes of quiet to rest your mind and your body. Your mind is like a muscle. It is not, your brain is a muscle. It's not designed to go 24/7. So just like your body needs rest at night, your brain also needs rest. And the more you actually give it some rest and you give it some space, then that's when you are going to give space for creativity, for new ideas, and for new energy to flow. And that's how things start to shift and change. That's what happened for my client when the job started to change, was really when she released the grip on it. I have seen it so many times for women who want to get promoted. Releasing the grip on promotion is actually one of the key ways to getting promoted. And you're like, really, Nicole, like that doesn't make any sense. But it is true. Like when you can start to understand that your attachment to the promotion is one of the limitations of the promotion and one of the reasons you're probably not getting it, that's when things start to open up in life in a totally different way. So surrender and rest is essential. It is what really allows you to step into your life in a different way and to give up feeling like life is not enough or it's not working out for you. It starts to give you the pathway to see that life is for you because you have given up needing it to be the exact way that you imagined it would. So surrender and rest is been key, I would say, in general for me in maternity leave. And it will be key for me, I know, also with a new baby. Like, how do I just surrender that I'm going to, be in this space and at home with my baby and just allowing myself that time, resting to heal from the birth and, just really being in the creation of this family with my husband. So how can you now start to bring in these ideas of surrender and rest into your life? I would love to hear which of these practices resonated with you, which one you can do today. I like to keep practices short and simple and sweet because we want to be doing them. We don't want to just be thinking about them. So could you take a lunch break today? Could you take a 15-minute walk could you take 10 minutes of quiet? And then once you do it, DM me at Instagram, at Nicole Song on Instagram, and let me know what you experienced once you did it, because it will make all the difference. And if you are an Asian American corporate leader who is ready to reverse cultural conditioning so you can thrive in your dream career in 60 days, DM me reverse on Instagram at Nicole Song, and I've got something over there for you. All right, friends, thanks so much for being part of this episode. Can't wait to see you next time.